We're about to start shapes, and shapes are a lot of fun, and you might wonder why you use them. But there may be, on some of your paintings, you may want more shapes, on some of them less. And it's just a space that adds interest. It may add a focal point, it may add a direction, or it may be a major part of the painting. And you can look at this two ways. You can start with a shape and then paint it, or you can create a shape from an already painted section that you've done. So any scraps of old things that you have, you can do shapes with. This is matte board. This is matte board, and it's thicker, so it's going to pile interestingly. That I've done a little monoprint on. Looks like this. And I can add, cut it into a shape, and then I can add color to it. So isn't that a nice shape? That you also want to make sure that once you add color that you paint the edges. If you're cutting up a shape that you've already painted like this, and you have this for a shape, then it's really easy to add color without damaging it. Add a little bit of your paint, and then take your brush to the outside of the shape, paint here, and paint it sideways like this. So I'm using the flat part of the brush onto the shape. And then if I look at the front and I accidentally have paint on the front, and you're working pretty rapidly, and now I have that all around the edges, just wipe it off with your finger or a paper towel. So now you can see that looks like a three-dimensional shape, and it is, that you actually can add to your piece. That here's a piece of watercolor paper, and see, I can put that over here and pile that on and make a framed shape. Or you can use pieces of wood and do the same treatment on. There's pieces of wood that you can buy like this, that you can buy a package of shapes, and I'll have some of those that you can have. Or when you're cutting your pieces, if you have scraps, then you can carefully add color, gesso it or non-gesso it, and then have that be a platform for shape. You can add some of the textural mediums that we have to the wood, but see, you can build those up onto the surface of your piece and make it no longer a totally flat piece that becomes a three-dimensional piece. So there's a lot of different things you can do with shapes in your pieces. Right now I want you to start with some of these flat things and make shapes. Some of the things that I have that you can make shapes with, besides cutting them with an X-Acto knife, is use punch. And punch is nice because if you were going to put three shapes together on a surface or a painting and collage them down, they're very, very equal and even. So it has a nice little flourish-like feel to it. And then if you were going to add a more three-dimensional, you can see how you could glue that down with your medium as well. I have cardboard on your list. We've talked about matte board. I love to cut these in with the paper cutter, because you can cut a whole lot of strips really quickly and measure how much you're going to cut off. So you get this is a paper cutter matte board, which you can paint and put different things on it, or you can cut already painted ones. Watercolor, it's the same thing. This is a part of a watercolor experiment on watercolor paper, and what you see there on the front is texture gel that's created a texture across there. This is also watercolor cut into a strip, and then I could cut those squares out. I painted them deliberately like that, and then it makes really pretty little painted squares that again I could use. Here's a red one, and then I could use other reds with it as over the shape. That's cardboard beneath it. And I have cardboard on your list because if you take a piece of cardboard and peel it back, peel the edge back, then you've got a wonderful texture that you can paint and play with. Or you could use just the cardboard plain like that and put medium over it. So that can be painted both ways, and you can peel it back to get that wonderful shape to it. Here are all the plates that I played with yesterday. If you don't want to cut all your shapes up and you want to keep your plates, I recommend, since they'll fit in your box pretty easily, that you just cut the edges off of your plate. And then you never have to use the whole plate if you don't want to. You can add it to your pile of things to cut up. This is clay board, and a clay board is like a scratch board, and I have several of them that I have everyone to have at least one. And besides painting them, then you can scratch a design into the surface, and that can be added to your painting or your design as well. And this is probably the size of a clay board that I will give to you. Alright, so go have fun making different kinds of shapes, and then we'll do some more three-dimensional things with plaster and paper clay that can be added along with these. Of course, they don't all have to be geometric. The definition of a shape is that it's flat. So you could make some organic shapes and cut them out of your designs as well, like swirls and spirals and things like that.